And everyone is of the opinion that when the Soviets left in '89 that the Marxist government collapsed. It didn't. It even outlasted the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed in '89, in what was it, 91? 91. And the Marxist government, Najibullah's government, finally was defeated in 1992. The Afghani people fought against the Mujahideen, particularly the women. They had everything to lose. And so what they then did, the Najibullah government was defeated in 1992. Then Mujahideen then started fighting amongst themselves. And for the next 4 years, they actually destroyed Kabul. It was the fights between the various factions in the Mujahideen. And they conducted nightly, they pillaged the people, robbed them, raped them. And in response to this, the Taliban came in to throw out the Mujahideen. And the Taliban threw the Mujahideen out in 1996. And they came in, they brought in some stability, but they brought in this fanaticism where all women were dismissed from jobs. They couldn't even be treated by a doctor unless you had a man present. And the Americans, the Clinton administration, were quite favorable to the Taliban because they thought that what the Americans had wanted was a natural gas pipeline that led from Tajikistan, from Turkmenistan. They needed to go through Afghanistan to Pakistan, and then they could ship natural gas to Japan, to China, and so forth. And they were negotiating with the Taliban. In fact, even Bush gave the Taliban something like $140 million shortly before 9/11. They were negotiating trying to get them to agree to a pipeline.
Did they?
And no, in fact, what they were telling the Taliban, look, we'll give you a carpet of gold, we'll give you a carpet of bombs. Well, then 9/11 occurs. Well, as we now know, the 9/11 thing was actually staged and planned in Europe. How could the Afghan people know anything about this? And the point is that Osama bin Laden denied having anything to do with 9/11.
Didn't the Taliban say they would hand over bin Laden
Exactly.
if they could produce some evidence?
Exactly. The Americans wanted Osama bin Laden, and the Taliban said, well, give us some evidence, and we'll turn him over to an international tribunal.
And you're saying there was no evidence?
There was no evidence. No, I was just reading an article by, the name slips me at the moment, a Canadian jurist, law professor in Toronto. What's his name?
Mendel?
Mendel, yes.
Michael Mendel.
Michael Mendel, in which he said this is a completely illegal war. They did not ask the Security Council. The Security Council have never given them permission. And to say on self-defense, the UN Charter is very explicit in self-defense. You can only act on self-defense if an actual country attacks you, and only for the time until the UN can get involved. There was no basis for this completely illegal war. And the Afghan people, just before those who opposed the Taliban, were telling the Bush administration, please don't go in and attack us. All you have to do, we will look after it ourselves. All you have to do is cut funding. Get Pakistan and Saudi Arabia to stop funding the Taliban. It's a small group. And once they don't have the money to pay their army, they will turn against them. And we'll get rid of them for you.
It's been about 9 years now since the Americans bombed Afghanistan.
Yes.
What has happened in that time?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's gone from bad to worse. There's been some reconstruction, I think, in Kabul, not very much. The aid agencies are helping in some ways and creating problems in other ways. They're creating inflation. The best housing is taken up by the aid agencies. Many people are still living in the bombed out parts of Kabul as it was over those years. They're not doing the opium production is in full bloom. They're hassling the farmers now and then, but not the warlords and the agents. No, why wouldn't so concerned about Afghan, they produce over 90% of the world's opium. Why don't you get after the people who are in charge of it instead of hassling the farmers? So, and corruption on an enormous scale. Instead of hiring local people to build schools, the Afghanis could build a school for $50,000. They get contracts through American aid. Each school costs $250,000. And what they do is they bring in their own workers, their own consultants. Most of the money is squandered, and they wind up building schools that literally almost fall apart, roads that almost fall apart. It's absolutely scandalous what is going on. And now the people want, I'm fully convinced that the majority of Afghan people want the Americans and all the foreigners out. Afghanistan is very rich in resources, and as far as they're concerned, they're being occupied for the interests of the USA, either for oil, natural gas, or a base against China, who knows what. It's an incredible tragedy what's happened to Afghanistan. If they had left this Marxist Iraqi government alone, there would have been no army of Mujahideen, there would have been no Soviet intervention, there would have been no Osama bin Laden, and there would have been no 9/11. There's another tragedy, and that is that the Mujahideen who came in, this was actually a foreign element. The fanaticism was brought in by fanatical Muslims who came in from all over the Middle East. The Taliban, that was a creation from Pakistan. It was not indigenous to Afghanistan. But in the course of that, what did they do? They destroyed the entire progressive movement in Afghanistan. Anyone who was suspected of being a socialist or a Marxist was killed. These people had to get out.
Where did the Northern Alliance come from?
Northern Alliance. These are the Mujahideen.
They just changed their name.
Yes, the Americans changed the name. The Mujahideen were turfed out by the Taliban, but they kept the northern 10%, largely the Uzbeks, Tajiks. So they were in that northern part. They weren't able to get them out of there totally. But the Pashtuns, they were in the south, and at the present time, it's the minority people who are in the Karzai government, and not the majority of the population. So if America leaves, Karzai and his government at most have a week in office. They'll be thrown out. And the people in government, there's a UN report on this that details the crimes that these people committed while they were Mujahideen. These people should have been brought to trial, and all the corruption that's going on. These are the Mujahideen reincarnated as the Northern Alliance. They were created by the CIA to begin with, and boy, they're still on the scene.
Do you know, within Islamic law, does it say that girls can't go to school
No.
and women can't go to work?
No, that's a perversion of Islam.
Many people say that if people leave Afghanistan, meaning like NATO
Right.
and Canada,
Yeah.
it will be worse for the Afghanis. Because
Oh,
they're in
how
there
could
to
it
build the
possibly be
schools
worse?
and the hospitals and the roads and protect the children and the women.
How could it possibly be worse? I've forgotten the woman's name who toured Canada this past.
Mayalaya Joya.
Yes, I met her here and I talked to her. I had an exchange of opinion with her, and I wondered why she had opposed the Soviets at the time. I said, at least they at least protected a secular government for you, and that's what you want now, isn't it? But you had one.
What do you think we have learned from this Afghan tragedy?
Nothing, as far as I'm concerned. You see these stickers on cars. What is it? Support our troops. Bring the troops home, for God's sakes. That's the best way to support them. We have no business being in Afghanistan. The only reason Canada wound up in Afghanistan is that Chrétien, good for him, did not get involved in Iraq. Refused to go to Iraq, but to appease the Americans, well, we'll send some troops to Afghanistan for you. But initially, those troops were only to protect the president in Kabul. It was Harper who brought them into Kandahar and brought them into full battle, where the general was saying, we have to, what did he call these people? Terrible names. So Harper brought all this on. And as far as I'm concerned, Michael Ignatieff is no better in this, because Ignatieff was the guy who gave the intellectual support for Iraq initially, for Bush, saying that Bush was justified in attacking Iraq, even gave an apology for, soft torture that might be okay.
What do you see for the future of Afghanistan?
Well, if the foreign armies leave, it will be difficult. There may be a civil war for a period of time. And I think the Afghanis will sort out the problems themselves. It's hard to kill off progressive-minded people. Can't get them all. And I think you may get a better balance where the clergy will not have such an influence. And you may, who knows, in the future, hopefully, they may have a secular society once again.
Wouldn't the civil war be between the two fanatics, the Northern Alliance, which is really the Mujahideen, and the Taliban?
That's true, but it will give the ordinary people a chance to get at it, and you may have a third element then. And the way they defeated the British, and the way they defeated the British, they simply cut off the food supply. And without food, you don't last too long. And if they want to get rid of these fanatics, if the farmers who... it's possible to get rid of the fanatics, but it may take time. It may take a generation or more. We created maybe irreparable damage in Afghanistan. Who knows? And there's no resolution to it until the Westerners get out. Even aid agencies, if they interfere, should get out. If you can give them money in a kind of way that wouldn't interfere, let them make their own decisions. Enough of this business, we know best.
They can build their own hospitals and schools.
They can build their own hospitals, and a heck of a lot cheaper than what we're doing. The highway between Kabul and Kandahar, they could have built for something like 50 million. The Americans spent 200 million on it. And the road was falling apart right after they finished it. And to supply the American troops, they have to pay off the Taliban so they can bring the trucks in. You heard about this. So they pay the protection money so they can get the trucks in. And the money goes straight to the Taliban. But if we had left the Marxist Iraqi government alone, let them deal with their own affairs, there would have been no army mujahideen. There would have been no Soviet intervention. There would have been no foreign fanatics, no Osama bin Laden, and there would have been no 9/11. And Afghanistan would probably be a progressive, happy country of the kind that I saw the makings of in 1978. There was an enthusiasm. I'll never forget those farmers, how enthusiastic they were that they will finally have their own land. The shopkeeper says, well, I'm not quite sure what to make of this government, but the farmers now have money, business has never been better, I have no complaints. So I said, who's complaining? The mullahs are complaining, and the fanatics who don't want girls to go to school, they're complaining. Too bad, he said. They have to move along with the world. Tragedy of a monumental tragedy brought on by America. And Canada's right in there helping with this tragedy. We have no business doing that. Me. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.